Trust me, it's happened to me several times as well. Let me close my calendar so you don't keep hearing that bell notification.
We'll give it a minute here for some folks to show up. So if everyone just hang out for a couple minutes.
Sure.
And, then we'll get rolling.
All right.
Oh, man. No deal.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
All right. I think we've got a quorum, so to speak, here. So I think I will just get going. And if others continue to join, that's great too. So welcome to our April Roundtable meeting for the Ogden Avenue and West Southwest corridor. Thank you everybody for joining today. Just so y'all know, the meeting's being recorded so we can send it around to the other attendees who were not available today. So to kick things off, I noticed that there are some folk who were not here previously, and some people who I know are going to be joining the meeting who I would like to have introduce themselves, just so we're familiar with all the new names that are on. So let's see, Nico, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, I'm happy to, Brian, if you think you said Nico. I'm here from the, thanks. So I'm here from the Community Desk Chicago. We are, for those who don't know, we're an organization that's currently being housed within the Chicago Community Trust, started a few years ago. And we're working to connect catalytic real estate projects with capital providers, whether they're grants, loans, equity. And so just coming to listen in to the project. I'll share the link to our organization in the chat as well, just so people can find some more info, but excited to be here.
And then is anyone else from your organization joining? Okay. We also have a new addition to our corridor manager team. So James, I saw that you joined us today. James Falls, can you please introduce yourself to the Roundtable group?
Yes, my name is James Falls, and I am also excited to be a part of this group. Looking forward to working with you guys. I've worked a lot on the west side there, working with the, now I'll be working with the Ogden corridor. And I'm just excited about the possibilities here, and I look forward to working with everyone.
Thanks, James. And maybe if you could just, not to put you on the spot, but if you could say a little bit about what you will be doing specifically to work with Rodney and Jesse, I think that'd be helpful too.
All right. Yes. So I will, as you just mentioned, work with Rodney and Jesse.
Are you there?
You're on mute, James. There you go.
Yeah. Sorry, James. You cut out.
You're on mute again.
Oh no.
Yeah. Hold on one second.
Can we come back?
Well, yeah, James, why don't go ahead and take your time. Technical difficulties. Anyhow, welcome to the team.
Brian, can't hear you. Can't hear you now.
Oh no. Now here. Let me,
Yes.
okay, I'm gonna shut off my video just in case my connection is spotty. I feel like it was okay, but just to be on the safe side. Is there anybody else too who's joining us for the first time? I feel like I saw some names I didn't recognize.
I'm Andrew Veselinovich with Ross Barney Architects, and I'm part of Donald Rankin and Rich Savage's team.
Okay, thanks.
And I'm Ward from the Staines Family Foundation. I don't think this is my first time, but it's my first time in a while. So, hi, everybody.
Hello, yeah, thanks for joining, Pat. Okay, I think that gets everyone. So before we, obviously we received the responses to our Ogden Avenue RFP at the end of March. Just due to the scheduling of this meeting, it's been a little bit of a lag until we could get this information out to you, or at least in this forum. I did send out the summaries out to everybody, so hopefully you got a chance to look through that. And today we can have a discussion about that, and you know, hopefully answer any questions that you might have. But to begin with, so I just wanted to forward on a news from Sophia Carey from the program. So the deadline passed. I can't remember what the exact date was off the top of my head, but we did receive upwards of, I believe, 150 applications overall. Let's see, let me pull it up here exactly. 172 total applications received across all of the eligible areas, which is great. Unfortunately, we didn't receive any applications for the Ogden Avenue and West Southwest corridor. This is one of the eligible areas for the program, but we did receive 4 applications for the North Lawndale community area. The Invest Southwest corridor is not the only eligible area within North Lawndale, so you know, these applications would be in other parts of the community that are in qualifying areas. And Sophia wasn't quite ready to come and share information on that today. The deadline just recently passed. So we'll have her to the May meeting, and hopefully she can give us some specifics on the projects in North Lawndale. So I want to move ahead to our summary of our responses. I apologize, I'm a little bit hoarse today. I got my second COVID vaccination. I feel a little bit weird, to be honest. So I feel a little bit like scratchy throat, so bear with me. So anyhow, just before we get going, I want to, kind of give everybody just not like ground rules, but an overview of like, what we're trying to do here today. This is an opportunity to ask questions about the process. It's an opportunity to ask questions about the responses that we received, although we are going to allow direct questions with the development teams in our developer presentations on May 19th and 20th. So today, the information that I'm presenting is basically pulled straight from the RFP responses that we received. And I'm a little hesitant to answer specific questions that might come up beyond the information that was shared in the RFPs and that I have in these slides here, because I don't want to answer questions for the developers, and there's going to be a venue to do that. But, this is kind of like initial impressions of these, and to just, ask questions about the process as we move forward. But, you will be able to ask any questions of the developers on the 19th and the 20th. The great news is that we received 6 responses to the RFP, which is the most of any corridor in this second phase of Invest Southwest RFPs. So I'm, really happy to see that, and really happy for the community in North Lawndale for this opportunity and the interest in it. And the downside is that we're going to have 2 nights of presentations because we got such a good response. So on the 19th and 20th, we will have 2-hour sessions, and they'll be moderated by I don't want to say like a third party, but somebody outside of the city. If you watch any of the other developer presentations around like Roosevelt and Costner, or for any of the other Invest Southwest communities, it's a similar format to that. There will be videos running 8 minutes, and then there will be 20 to 25 minutes for questions from the community, roundtable members. The meetings are open to the entire community. And yeah, we're going to be getting the word out on that, and actually even putting some flyers and mailboxes around the site so residents are aware of this opportunity to be a part of the public engagement. So with all that said, just to take a little step back and rehash what we had released for the RFP here. The site is 3400 to 18 West Ogden Avenue. We're looking for our communication to the development community was for a pedestrian-oriented mixed-use development. There was a lot of talk about commercial space in terms of both retail that provides needed community amenities, as well as commercial space that can support opportunities for local entrepreneurs and small businesses to grow the local wealth and the local North Lawndale business environment. There was also a desire expressed for mixed income housing and not just 100% affordable, as well as outdoor public spaces for pedestrians to help to make Ogden Avenue more pedestrian-oriented street. And a quick recap of the community engagement that we went through. Obviously, we did a thorough review of the previous planning studies, particularly the quality of life plan, which we know is near and dear to the community members and leaders here. We held the Invest Southwest, West Side kickoff meeting. We have these monthly roundtable meetings. We reached out to stakeholders for interviews, talked extensively with Alderman Scott. We held a visioning workshop in October 20th and did the NLCCC, I believe it was the quarterly meeting in November of last year as well. So to identify where we are in the process here, this is step 3, so evaluation. This is going to be April, May, and going into June as well, until we choose a project for the site, preferred development proposal. So to get into the specific summaries here, please, if anybody has any questions, you don't have to wait until the end. I'm just going to leave this open here. If you have a question about any of these or, you know, the process in general, just go ahead and interrupt me. No problem. Or, you know, raise your hand. I'll try to keep an eye on that. And then I also just want to identify to you the fact that quite a few of the people who are in this meeting are represented in these submissions, which I think is great. You know, we want to see the folks who are the you know, community leaders and stakeholders, you know, be included in these submissions. And I have a ton of respect for all of you, so please don't take this personally, but just please refrain from cheerleading, basically, for your project. That's all I ask, because you will have the opportunity to do that in those and 20 meetings. But today, if you can just use your discretion, you know, there's no legal thing here that I'm gonna, you know, disclaimer that I'm gonna read out. I just am going to ask everyone to you know, be respectful and use discretion. Any questions before we get going? All right then. So on these two slides here, just to give a quick overview of the responses that we received. The Elevate and Hive proposal, Elevate on Ogden Avenue, is led by the Hive Cosmetology School, Miller and Ferguson Development, and the Structure Group and Rankins Group. Lawndale Redefined is a project that's proposed by GRE Ventures, the Imagine Development Group, and 548 Development. OG Lawndale is led by, it's actually a OG Lawndale LLC, but that is a joint venture that's led by Gorman and Company. I'll have more on that on the specific project-specific slides. Pivot North Lawndale is led by Michael's Development, affordable housing developer, and New Covenant CDC, I think we're all familiar with. The hotel proposal, it doesn't have a catchy name, but it's led by Proxima Management, so I just referred to it as the hotel. And the Tapestry is, last but not least, is a partnership between Lawndale Christian Development Corporation and the NHP Foundation. So now we're going to go into the specific proposals, and they all same format, talking about, you know, the proposed uses, and we'll also get into some of the financials of these as well, because, you know, for our evaluation, we're looking at, you know, obviously engaging with the community to see what the community's priorities are. We're also taking a look at the experience and, you know, ability to complete the project in terms of what the development team is. And then also we're looking at the financial feasibility and doing analysis of that as well. So these are our main criteria. So this project is it's mixed use, you know, a curvilinear building here that engages the entire site. It would be home to the Hive Cosmetology and Fragrance School. It would also include features like an African-American hair museum, affordable apartments that would, I believe some of which are prioritized for students of the school. And then on the ground floor in this section here, that's got the this sort of like this outdoor structure here on the rooftop deck. You've got retail spaces as well as a hair salon for the students here. So the development team on this is, well, sorry, the owners would be the Hive Cosmetology and Fragrance School, as well as Miller and Ferguson Development. The development team is led by Miller and Ferguson, as well as the Rankins Group and Structure Group, who are represented by Donald and Britt on the call today. The design team is Ross Barney Architects. It's a women-owned business, so we're trying to call out all of the MBE and WE representation from the teams here. It wasn't always called out in the proposals, so I did my best to try to figure this out. If I happen to miss one, please do call it out. So the construction team is led by 2 MBEs in BOA Construction and Safeway Construction. And North Lawndale Employment Network is on board as a community partner for this to assist with hiring, I believe. This is a project that totals at $52.8 million. The proposal is requesting $1.8 million in TIF funding, as well as $48.3 million in 9% LIHTC funding. The jobs generated are anticipated to be 150 construction jobs and 100 permanent jobs. And the uses here would be, not all of these have footage on them, so I did my best to pull from the proposals. So not all of these will have quite the level of detail. It varies from proposal to proposal. But the Hive Cosmetology campus that would include classrooms, offices, and a workshop would total about 14,500 square feet. So that would mostly be on the second floor of the building that you see here. On this sort of structure that's on the rooftop deck, it's a lecture hall that would include an African-American hair museum and a greenhouse, roughly 4,000 square feet. There's also 5 ground floor retail spaces. You see here at the front of the plaza and along Ogden Avenue. And this would also include a hair salon for the cosmetology school. And there's a total of 66 residential units, which are 100% affordable. For the funding stack for this project, we're breaking it up into the various sources that were called out here. And again, I'm just representing what was in the proposals. I took no liberties here. I'm just pulling the numbers from it and putting it in front of you. And if there were some questions around them, I may have put in a couple of, not available or CBDs here or there where I need further clarification. So $2.7 million of this would come from conventional funding, which includes, equity or construction loan. From tax credits, this is very heavy on tax credits, with 9% low-income housing tax credits making up $48.2 million of the funding, and then $1.8 million requested from the TIF program. And you can see for the construction budget, $180,000 for acquisition, 1.8 for site prep. Hard costs are $41.4 million. Soft costs are roughly $9 million. Furniture and fixtures and equipment, $200,000 and $150,000 here. So any questions before I move on to the next project? Comments, impressions of this? All right, going once, going twice. We'll move on then. The next project is called Lawndale Redefined. This is a proposal that includes multiple buildings. It's almost kind of like a village approach on the on here, which a little bit of an interesting layout for the site here. Those buildings include affordable and market rate housing, retail and restaurant space, a community center that's focused on technology and arts programming, and a public plaza that features public art, splash pad, and that's a water feature, and a history trail that's related to North Lawndale's past. So this project is led by GRE Ventures, Imagine Development Group, and 548 Development, all of which are African-American led MBEs. The design team is White and Company, Onyx, which is an MBE, Site Design Group, a landscape architect group that's an MBE, Engage Civil Engineering, an MBE, and DBHMS, which is also an MBE. The construction team is led by GMA, which is an MBE, and Tandem Ventures, which is an M/WBE, and Safer Foundation. The community partners for this include Black Men United, the West Side branch of the NAACP, Habilitative Systems, and the Small Business Development Corporation. So any questions before I move on to the next project? Comments, impressions of this? All right, going once, going twice. We'll move on then. The next project is called Lawndale Redefined. So the total project cost for this is 31.4 million. It's requesting $7.1 million in TIF funding, as well as 1.5 million from NOF, $17.5 in 9% low-income housing tax credits. It's anticipated to generate 90 to 120 construction jobs, as well as 20 permanent jobs. And so the uses that are being proposed here, you know, just to, well, I'll go back a slide as well when we kind of walk through these uses, but they're proposing this, what you see here, this is the west side of the site. So this would be on Trumbull Avenue. There is a small scale grocer on the ground floor here. They're proposing a restaurant on the second floor with a terrace that would step out onto the front of the market. There's also the Community Arts and Technology Center is called the Cube. That's this glass structure that is very prominent at the corner of Ogden and Trumbull. There's also additional retail and restaurant space fronting Ogden Avenue. And then the larger, larger building that you see in the back is multifamily housing, and that retail would be on the first floor of the multifamily housing. And this project is proposing 63 total residential units with a mix of 48 affordable and 15 market rate. And that would include actually 3 townhomes that front Trumbull Avenue. So you can see those land uses kind of broken up here as well. This is another good exhibit that shows that, as well as the public plaza with the history walk and the water feature. So the capital stack for this includes $5 million of conventional funding, $17.5 million in LIHTC for the affordable housing, and it's requesting $8.5 million in city assistance and grants between the TIF and NOF programs. I'm not going to walk through all the construction budgets here. I think that what's really most relevant is the capital stack. So any thoughts, questions, comments about this project, Lawndale Redefined? Okay, moving on then. The next is OG Lawndale. So this again proposes multiple buildings on the site, 2 buildings side by side here. So this is a mixed use project that would include a 3-story office building with ground floor retail and a 5-story multifamily residential building that includes 100% affordable units as well as ground floor retail. So this is led by a joint venture called OG Lawndale Development LLC, made up of Gorman and Company Development, Gorman General Contracting, Beehive Architects, as well as JGMA Architects. Beehive and JGMA are both MBEs. They lead the design team as well, along with Site Design Group, which is also an MBE. And the construction team is led by Gorman General Contractors, Engage Civil Engineering, another MBE, Thornton Tomasetti, MEPIS, and PAC leaders. And real estate services are made up of a team of EG and Neil and Leroy attorneys. This is a $38 million project. It's requesting about $1.5 million of TIF funding, $16.6 million in 9% LIHTC and new market tax credits. The jobs generated for this used a multiplier, and I didn't feel it was fair to put it in this slide deck because the others did not take that approach. So I wanted to hold off on sharing that because I feel like it's not a apples to apples comparison. So this proposal did not have a lot of specificity outside of that there's going to be office and retail space provided along with 50 affordable residential units. And there's a public plaza with space for performance, pop-up retail, and casual gathering. So you can see, in the images here, you know, it's the two buildings. The taller is the affordable housing, the one, so that's to the west along Trumbull Avenue here. You've got a office building with both have ground floor retail, a lot of outdoor terraces and amenity decks. And so you can kind of see the land use makeup and programming here. So you know, this is like an exploded exhibit of the floors, where in the front here you've got the retail towards Ogden Avenue. And then on the upper floors of the west building, you've got 5 stories of residential to the east. You've got 3 stories above retail of office space. So this project is made up of $15.2 million in conventional funding, which is primarily construction loan for $11.3 million, as well as some equity and unidentified grants in this one. The grants were not specified under that conventional funding. So it's kind of an asterisk along with that $2.38 million. It's requesting $16.6 million in 9% and new market tax credits. It's also requesting roughly $5.5 million from city assistance made up by TIF funding, and then a unidentified gap in the financing of roughly $3.9 million here. And I just want to, you know, identify that during the evaluation process and review, you know, we don't see it as necessarily being wrong to have a gap identified like this, because you know, we've got options like TIF and NOF, and particularly with TIF, if you are to do a more thorough review of the TIF eligible expenses, it's quite possible that we could identify further expenses in this project where TIF could be applied. So that's, you know, that's not a deal breaker. Any questions, comments on OG Lawndale?
Brian, my questions are not so much for this, but it's in line with your last comment regarding the financial viability of each of these projects, because I've noticed that there's a significant amount of tax credits in each of the proposals. And you kind of answered the question, but I'd just be interested, and you not have to answer this on this call, but how are we weighting the financial stacks to the viability of each of these proposed projects, even with like the non-serviceable, the gap that we're seeing? Because I know that with TIF, there is some site acquisition, some site remediation costs that could be recouped from those. And are those things being considered in that entire evaluation process? Because my concern is, and this has happened, as most folks on this call would know, is that we have a project that we approve and they're not able to complete the project. So we have too many have-done buildings in the community.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jesse. So we are, our financial incentives group, which does underwriting for TIF projects and you know, tax incentive projects, do a thorough review of all of these projects. And you know, just to address any concerns, you know, we will not be approving a project that is going to get halfway in the ground and you know, and stall. You know, but what I would say is that there is some wiggle in the financial proposals for these projects, where if for example, if there's a project that's proposing a capital stack that is not realistic, you know, we're not just going to shut it down and say no. What we'll do is take a look at the project and see how we might be able to revise, you know, the pro forma of it. It's like, take a harder look at it with our financial analyst staff and say, is the project where we could get to that total budget with a different combination of funding than what they're proposing. You know, I think there is some fluidity there. Obviously, if something is just outrageously unrealistic and the financial feasibility is 1/3 of our evaluation process here. But if, you know, for example, I looked at this and I saw, you know, there's some projects that are requesting relatively low amounts of TIF funding. And I was in the TIF group prior to this position here, and I'm not, you know, a hardcore expert on it. But, you know, knowing that if there are things like affordable housing, if there's like site remediation that's going to need to be done, some of these projects could probably get to. So we would make suggestions and we would look at, you know, okay, the pro forma may not look how it's looking in your response to the RFP, but we do see a path forward if we, you know, tweak some of the financials on it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll be discussing these, you know, that's, like I said, that's 1/3 of the evaluation process. So we're going to be taking a very hard look. And, you know, obviously the last thing we want is to move ahead with a project that, for example, you know, maybe is like a favorite with the community, but can't follow through. You know, I don't know. I shouldn't say that because I think that, you know, it's something that we're doing our best to control for. So.
Hey, Jesse, I would also say, you know, the way that the tax credits looks, everybody's asking for 9%. 9% are very competitive, and you may not get that. You may get 4%, and so we'll have to rework the performer with the 4%, as well as I don't see anybody in here asking for tax incentives like, you know, 6Bs or and stuff like that will reduce the tax liability, which will ultimately reduce the debt on this. So again, like Brian said, there will be some reworking of the performers to make sure that they're in line. And there may be some other city subsidies as well. You know, there's a lot of housing in here, so there may be some dollars from housing that may be able to be put in here. So there are different ways to kind of push and pull. But as Brian said, you know, I'm not going to be supportive of anything and allocate TIF monies to something that we know isn't going to get shovel ready in the ground and built all the way through.
Thanks, Oliver. Yeah, that's a good point to make, that 4% LIHTC would also be an option. 9% is very competitive. You know, we anticipated more 4% as reasonable LIHTC funding, but for these Invest Southwest projects in general, but 9% is not ruled out by any means. All right, I'm going to move on to the next project here. So this is Pivot North Lawndale. This is a project I want to just identify that Rodney Brown is a partner in, who's also our corridor manager. So this is a mixed-use community hub. It's got affordable and market rate apartments. It includes on the ground floor in the retail and commercial space and a business incubator that's got a community space, a marketplace for local businesses, a co-working space, and conventional restaurant and retail spaces as well. The development team is led by Michael's Development and New Covenant CDC. The design team includes Canopy Architects and MBE, Future Firm, which is a MWBE, sorry, M/WBE, Planning Resources, which is a DBE, Millhouse, which is an MBE, and then Engage Civil Engineering, which is also an MBE. And then the construction team is led by GMA, another MBE. Sorry for the repetition here. And then Edwin Muldrow from Delcar Pharmacy and Bobby Price from Principal Barbers are community advisors on this. Although it should be mentioned that I don't believe that they're being proposed as tenants in the spaces, but they're on board to provide community perspective. This is a project totaling $27.5 million, requesting $9 million in TIF, $13.6 million in 4% LIHTC funds. It anticipates 230 construction jobs and 32 permanent jobs. The proposed uses would be the North Lawndale Neighborhood Incubator. This is a multi-purpose community space that's catered to small local businesses. So, you know, there's a business incubator, and then this West Side Marketplace would provide 5 small-scale, short-term commercial spaces for entrepreneurs in North Lawndale on the west side, and these are roughly like 200 square foot retail spaces for businesses that are growing and maybe not ready to inhabit a larger kind of more typical commercial retail space. And as you can see in the rendering at the bottom here, the sort of kind of what I want to say, prominent feature of the proposal is this pavilion space that is a restaurant or retail space at the corner of Ogden and Trumbull. It has this nice architectural canopy over it there, holding the corner at Ogden and Trumbull. And then there is also additional restaurant and retail space. The residential portion includes 54 total units, with 46 being affordable. And you can see here the programming. I think this is a nice exhibit that shows you the breakup of the building. For the capital stack on this, it includes $1.73 million in conventional funding, which is predominantly made up by a loan. 4% LIHTC credits amounting to $13.6 million. And $12.1 million in city assistance, which includes $9 million in TIF, and then a gap of $3.1 million identified. And again, just to go back to my previous comment, this is something that is, like I said, it's not a deal breaker. We're going to do a evaluation process and say, hey, how could we slot in, additional funding sources? For example, this project doesn't include a proposal for NOF funding, and that's something that we identified in the RFP as a potential source of funding. So if there are say, for example, if there's an issue like that in a preferred project that the community is championing, we can look at how we could potentially get to that 100% funding. Any questions, comments on this project? All right, moving forward here. The Proxima Management Hotel proposal. This is the largest in size and scale here. It's proposing an 8-story building, 200-room hotel. It would include ground floor retail and a restaurant space on I'm not sure what floor it's on, but it's like an interior restaurant space that would open out onto a rooftop deck, as well as publicly accessible open space on the ground floor with cafe seating and outdoor seating areas and public art. This is led by Proxima Management, which is a developer that works in multiple states. The design team is led by Hutton and Hutton. The construction team is made up of Ashlar Construction, which is an MBE, as well as Skender Construction. And it includes community advisors of CASME Advisors, which is an MBE, and the North Lawndale Employment Network. This is a $48.8 million project. It's actually requesting $0 in city incentives. It's anticipated to generate 150 plus construction jobs and then 30 permanent positions, with the hotel. And I should specify that these are all full-time employment positions that we're calling out for the permanent jobs. So it would include 200 overnight and extended stay hotel rooms. When you think about the surrounding uses with like the healthcare campuses of Lawndale Christian and Mount Sinai, this is kind of right between those two. So, potentially serving patients of those who are traveling from out of town to have, receive healthcare services. There would be 2 restaurant retail spaces that include outdoor seating. There's structured parking in the rear with a drop-off lane in the front and a rooftop terrace that connects to a fitness amenity and a lounge space. And you can see, again, kind of like on these final slides here, I try to put the, programming exhibits. So the parking would be located in the back here in these kind of like yellow floors that are there. Outdoor terrace here that would connect to a lounge and a fitness center. And then you've got the purple on the bottom of retail and restaurant spaces. So the capital stack on this is made up of 14.6 million in equity and then 34.2 million in bank debt. Any comments, questions regarding this proposal?
Yeah, this is Deborah. I just had a question. Is this hotel, is this a kind of known hotel? Or is it independent? I just was wondering.
Oh, like a chain?
Yeah.
There was no chain identified with this project, although they did call out in some of their previous projects. They have when I say like franchises connected with some of their other hotel developments.
Okay.
So Deborah, from what I understand, they are associated with a couple of brands. And depending upon which brand, but it would not be an independent hotel. It would be brand name. I don't know which brand, but they have several brands that they are associated with.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
It's not the Shamrock on Roosevelt and Cicero, is it?
No, not unless you stay in there, Brooks.
Yeah, and Deborah, I could, if you'd like, I could get you some of the project examples that they listed, and I have the RFPs sitting. Actually, I'm in like a fortress of binders that you cannot see here, but I can share that information with you if you'd like.
So, and I'm just not picking on this one. I just want to ask. So, for example, when they kind of project usage, with customers coming from the hospital or Senate space or whatever, has there been any engagement with any of us? Or it's just dreaming?
Not that I'm aware of. I would think that you might know better than me.
Well, they've this is Brenda. They've talked to us about just the recruitment and the job opportunities, which will be quite plentiful, but I'm not aware, and nor have I been involved in any communications with them about their outreach or any assumptions around sources of, customers like Sinai. So I can't speak to that, but I do know that they have a very really aggressive plan to hire locally and and a variety of positions.
Yeah,
well.
I get that. It's just like the whole just across the street from Rush. I mean, I understand how they made the assumptions to build it. I just wanted to understand the communication, and it would probably be with everything in terms of who the customers or consumers would be, not the workforce. I think that's a given. So just asking, but thank you.
So from what I understand, again, that is what they would do. I mean, I don't think that they would invest the time to do the outreach just yet if they haven't been chosen. If they're in it, if we shortlist them and they get to 4, then I think outreach would then happen. If they are not shortlisted and then they would have not, they put in the time and the effort and then nothing would have happened. So, I will follow up with them and possibly connect you with their consultant to kind of talk through that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman. And then Deborah, 2 of the hotels they referenced that Proxima has developed are the Eagle Cotton Mill Hotel in Madison, Indiana, and a True by Hilton. So that's like a sub franchise or like a product from Hilton that's in downtown Indianapolis.
If you could see me, I'd have a blank face because I have never been to either one of those. But anyway, okay, I'm just joking. Right.
Okay. Unless anyone else has any other questions, I'm going to move to the, obviously I put these in alphabetical order. So when I say the last project, Don't take it personally, Richard. So this is entitled The Tapestry. This is a partnership between the Lawndale Christian Development Corporation and the NHP Foundation. The proposal is for a 4-story mixed-use building that would include affordable housing, community-focused commercial space, and a public plaza. On the ground floor, you've got retail, which is sort of, led, or the featured part of that is a food hall that would be catered towards local entrepreneurs in North Lawndale, restaurants and, small businesses and food service. And it also includes a co-working space with retail spaces. So the design team on this is led by UrbanWorks, which is a M/W/DBE, Millhouse Engineering, which is an MBE, David Mason and Associates, an MBE, Planning Resources, an M/DBE, Engaged Civil Engineering, another MBE, and AP Monarch, which is an M/WBE. The construction team is led by Powers & Son, another MBE, as well as Real Estate Services from SB Friedman. And then community partners on this are the Chicago Neighborhood Initiative, Westside Justice Center, and the Steens Family Foundation. So this image here, you can see some of the programming here and how the project is laid out. One of the prominent architectural features of this are these terraced stoops here, which are a nod to the design of the iconic gravestones in North Lawndale. It's a $31.4 million project. There's a request for $600,000 in TIF, $2 million in NOF funding, tax credits of 18.9 million, blended between 4% and 9% low-income housing tax credits. It's anticipated to generate 170 construction jobs and 50 permanent full-time jobs. The proposed uses in the building, there would be 7,100 square feet allocated to the food hall that is focused on local vendors. The community co-working space is 5,650 square feet on the ground floor here, which you can see in the red that's there. And then also, standard retail space to the east of the building here in the yellow is 3,200 square feet devoted to that. There's also a plaza with cafe seating and flexible event space. So this is the outdoor amenity here of 15,550 square feet. And then in this kind of greenish blue color up above, upper floors is 67 affordable residential units. So the funding is made up of 6.77 million of conventional funding, which includes bank debt and a ComEd energy grant, $18.9 million in 4% and 9% low-income housing tax credits, and then $5.66 million in city assistance and grants coming from identified from TIF and NOF, as well as a $3 million funding gap identified. So yeah, this brings us to the end of the last project. Any thoughts or comments or questions regarding the tapestry? And I should also mention too, that this project is intended to be symbolic of the merging of Latino and African-American communities here that, sorry, I got distracted by the chat here. Apologies, I'll address those comments in a moment. So, Ogden Avenue and this kind of south end of North Lawndale being a little bit of a crossroads of the Latino and African-American communities on the west side. And so this project is representative of that location and that characteristic here. Any thoughts, comments? So,
Brian, there's questions in the chat. I don't know if you can see those or not.
Yeah. So I was just going to get to those, Rodney. To Donald, yeah. So the presentation, I will send out a PDF of the slide deck. So everyone will get to see the presentation, and I'll also send around the recording of this meeting. So in terms of the parking, so yeah, I could have done a better job of identifying where the parking is located. Apologies for that, Rochelle. So most of these are proposing either structured parking or what we refer to as like tuck under parking. So you know, the first floor where you've got retail, you know, on the back, the retail would not necessarily extend all the way to the back of the lot. Sorry, the lot line. And so parking would be located kind of tucked under the upper residential floors. And that's what we were recommending in the RFP. So, you know, there are a number of ways that that parking bonuses could apply here to reduce down the parking. Particularly when we're around affordable housing, the zoning code is very lenient towards parking, although we would, you know, obviously require parking according to, you know, the zoning ordinance. And particularly with the hotel, like I called it out, there's structured parking in that, because that's going to obviously generate, you know, quite a bit of parking demand with 200 rooms there.
You know, this is Deborah. As I'm looking at all of the different proposed developments, what it says to me is a community like North Lawndale has been so devoid of development. So all of the ideas, I think, are great. Obviously, we have to wean down to one that's going to be to make the most sense. But it just speaks to the fact that development really hasn't taken place in such a robust way in which other communities have been able to benefit from it. So I think it's good that folks are thinking creatively on how to meet some of the real needs in the community.
Yeah, thanks, Deborah. I mean, you know, don't want to get like bogged down in there. You know, we want to go through and represent these projects, you know, in detail. But yeah, you know, in the big picture, it's very exciting. You know, I was thrilled to see the interest in the North Lawndale RFP, and you know, I'm excited for the community and the opportunity that this presents for sure. So I mean, I think that it's worthwhile taking a moment here before we, you know, start to get into the, you know, nitty gritty of the details and the evaluation to, you know, everyone who was a part of this to help, you know, whether or not you're a respondent to the RFP, if you helped get the word out, if you gave your 2 cents and your feedback on it, you know, I mean, I think, you know, everyone deserves a, you know, pat yourself on the back. I think this right now, it's worthy to, you know, call that a success, the interest in this opportunity. So I think that's great. I talked about this a little bit at the get-go here, but the evaluation criteria. So to just kind of summarize these, you know, roughly a third of it is going to come from community feedback and the opportunity to build community wealth. So this was addressed in detail in the RFP document. So that's going to be a major portion of our criteria. The predominant evaluation criteria is the professional competence of the team. So we want to make sure that it's a, you know, to go back to previous, you know, Jesse's comments earlier, make sure that this is a team that can see this project through from start to finish. We don't want to see something, you know, stumble halfway through. And then again, as we discussed earlier, is it financially feasible? You know, that's another third of the evaluation criteria. We want to make sure that, you know, we're not pushing forward a project that can't, you know, be funded through the city programs, because we can't just cut a check for a project that we like. We've gone through these conversations before, I think, in this forum, but TIF has certain criteria, eligibility criteria, as does NOF, as do low-income housing tax credits. So our next steps here, if you have not registered for the developer presentation meetings on the 19th and 20th, you can do so on the city's website. It's the same RFP site. So I believe if you downloaded the RFP that you should probably get it the invitation as well. But if you haven't registered on the site, please do go ahead and do that. Let's see. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. We'll also be coming back to the roundtable again in May. So this will be an ongoing conversation that we have here to talk about the public meeting feedback and the community survey responses. And as we do a further evaluation on the city side, we'll also be presenting that information here as well. And then we're hoping to announce a selected project by the end of June. And I would also just say as like one final comment that please in your networks, whether that's email lists or via social media, please do get the word out about these developer presentations. DPD will be doing our typical kind of outreach, via our communications team. And like I said, I'm actually going to be walking around the neighborhood and handing flyers. So we'll make sure that people who live in proximity to this location will at least have a piece of paper that tells them about these presentations. So we're going to do our best to make sure that no stone goes unturned, but we also would ask the roundtable members to assist us with that. So that's the end of my presentation. Any final comments or thoughts here before we go?
Brian, this is Rodney. Thanks for this presentation today. These are, as Deborah mentioned, these are certainly great projects for North Lawndale. And as we get through this round, I would hope that developers would be encouraged to also look at other parts of North Lawndale once we get these two selected, and then move on to other parts of the development community as well.
Yeah, thanks, Rodney. That's an excellent comment, and actually something that I intended to mention earlier. I mean, it's kind of difficult to say right now, but this has come out a lot in the feedback from the first phase of projects that, it's a competition, and not everybody liked that because in a competition, you're going to have some losing proposals. But I do hope that everyone sees this not as just one opportunity that's going to be in North Lawndale from Invest Southwest. There will be further opportunities to fund development in North Lawndale. And the whole idea of a project like this is that it's catalytic and that it spurs other projects like this. And we may not have a chance where we're saying the city is going to put, like 50% financing towards a project, but like we've discussed in this forum many times before, we have a number of resources that we can use to try to put behind projects. So if this RFP generated proposals that have a lot of merit to them and that, look like they could potentially go somewhere else, then we will consider, and, we'll have follow-up conversations about how we can utilize other resources to make a project happen, maybe in another site, if not on Ogden Avenue, maybe elsewhere in North Lawndale. So, it's not just a kind of a zero-sum game here, I would say. We want to, see what we can do to try to make, strong proposals happen elsewhere in North Lawndale. So it's not the end of the conversation. It's not just, here's the winner and then see you later. So thanks for making that point, Rodney. It's a very important one. Okay, everybody. I don't want to, run over too long, but any further comments? Anything we didn't address here? All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and I hope that you're all instrumental to this evaluation process as we move ahead, because the community feedback is really invaluable and something that we prioritize when we're going to be selecting a project. So, it's going to be a process. We're going to make sure that voices are heard, and do our best to incorporate that into the selected project. So looking forward to having everybody join us on the 19th and 20th. And like I said, please get the word out on that. And thanks, Richard. Good to see everyone today.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks again, Brian.